Hey everybody, Billy Bob here. Welcome to Random Thoughts after the national championship game between number 1 Indiana and number 10 Miami last night at Hard Rock Stadium. But before we get going, I got to tell you a story or two. First of all, here's a story for you. Well, there we go. Black Gold Coffee Roasters. Stopped there this morning on my way back from Sarasota. Usually I go check them out on Thursday and Friday, but they're open every day of the week. I'm not sure about Sunday, but they're open almost every day. Check them out, Black Gold Coffee Roasters in Venice, Jacaranda. And they also have a new location. So Gary and Alyssa, they open a new location downtown at a historic old building in the historic old house in downtown Venice called the Lord Heigl House. So they're rocking and rolling there. So go see one of their two locations, either Jacaranda on Jacaranda Circle or downtown behind City Hall at the Lord Heigl House. So good stuff. And they also make food and some good pastries and some scones, and I like their apple cinnamon muffin. You can tell I like their apple cinnamon muffin, their banana nut muffin. Just had some of their zucchini bread the other day. That was good stuff. So I stayed up last night to watch the whole game, knowing I had to get up at 5:30 this morning because I had to be downtown Sarasota by 8 o'clock because I had jury duty. Okay? So I put my Flexpedition, Duluth Trading Flexpedition pants on because they literally have 11 pockets, but you can't tell because they're like streamlined. I was going to say trim and streamlined, and I got streamlined. All right. Got my AirPods in there. I got my phone charger, the cord and the plug. I got my readers. I got, what else? Of course, some money. I got a wallet. I had my car keys. I had some beef jerky for a snack. And I don't know, it seemed like I had something else in there. Anyway, got it all unloaded in the bin. Thought everything's rock and rolling. They had to wand me because, of course, I forgot my money, which had a little Ohio State money clip, which probably has zero metal, but it set the machine off. Anyway, so that's all the bad stuff. I get upstairs, I'm in line, waiting to check in, and a guy comes walking out of the check-in. He goes, "Hey, man, you're all going to get to go home because they canceled all the trials today." Don't know why. I wasn't sure I was going to believe him, but I got in there and they said, "Trials have been canceled for today. You're good to go." That means like no coming back for at least a year until you get, some people never get on the list. Some people are on the list all the time. The guy in front of me said he gets called about twice a year, which is really crazy stuff. Anyway, let's get to game stuff. Where am I? One of the things I talked to you about on Saturday, which I was very surprised about, was that Indiana University had the largest living alumni base in the United States of all colleges, right? I mean, I always thought it was Penn State, Texas, Ohio State. Now, I checked this out a couple different places, and it actually is Indiana University. They are number one with over 805,000 living alumni. Number two was one of the ones I thought, Penn State, at 802,000 and change. And then, which is a big surprise to me because I never have heard them before, is the next two actually are surprises to me. The Wolverines, you know, that team up in Ann Arbor, they got about 697,000, just short of 700,000. UCLA, another big surprise, 670,000. And then comes Ohio State, it says with a little over 600,000. Now, I thought these numbers were a little flawed, but there was only one place that said something different. I don't always trust AI, so I went to alum something, same numbers. So, number one, congratulations to the Indiana Hoosiers for winning the national championship. And number two, congratulations to the Indiana Hoosiers for being the number one, the largest alumni base in the United States. So, let's see, what do I have here? We talked about the Curt Cignetti. What can you say about him? He actually has a little bit of a personality. We saw that after they won. He even said he was going to go have a beer. You know, what are you going to do now? I think I'll go have a beer. So now we don't have to Google Curt Cignetti anymore. For those of you that don't remember, when he first got hired, got pressed questions by reporters about, you know, his capability and track record. And he says, which was kind of smart-ass, but he said it, Google me, I win. Well, now we don't have to Google him anymore because he won. Won last year, came short of the national championship. He won this year, he won it all. So he's reached the pinnacle. We'll talk about Indiana first. I already started doing that, right? By the way, going topless today, no hat, because in fact, I have not worn a hat all day long. It's probably a first in quite a while. But, you know, you go into court, you can't be wearing a hat. So, Fernando Mendoza. We now officially know that Fernando Mendoza is not only a big guy, kind of funny, goofy, Heisman Trophy winner, but he's also a tough guy, right? This guy is a tough guy. If you haven't seen the picture of his throwing arm, all black and blue and red and purple, go check it out on the Billy Bob's Backyard Barbecue page, and you will see his whole forearm is nothing but black and blue and purple and red and all of the above. I mean, that was right after the game. Not to mention, he got his nose banged up and his mouth busted open, bleeding from the inside of his mouth, inside of his lip, from a cheap shot from number 8 from the Hurricanes. Is it Jacoby something? Jacoby, where did I do with that? Well, I'll get to him. Let's see. Where is he? Damn, this traffic jam. How I hate to be late. Hurts my motor to go so slow. So damn. Where am I? That's those guys. Here we are. Be a little better prepared, Billy Bob. Be prepared. Jacoby Thomas. Was I right? Did I say Jacoby Thomas? So Jacoby Thomas, in fact, I thought Jacoby Thomas had 2 cheap shots in the first quarter, both on Mendoza, one which looked like a targeting call. I mean, the definition, right? Crown of the helmet, hit him on the chin. What else is there? Anyway, Mendoza, big guy, tough guy. I've kept trying to figure out who does Mendoza remind me of, and it hit me because he's kind of got that funny. He's always on, right? He's always like on. He's just like Helio Castroneves. Now, if you don't know Helio Castroneves, go check him out. Check out his picture. Check out some of his interviews. I mean, he was a funny guy, and but now Mendoza's not going to look exactly like him because Helio Castroneves, the pictures of he's 50 years old, and Mendoza's only 22 or 23. So, let's see if I can move these things around. Indiana running backs, Kalon Black, Roman Hemby, nice job. Black 79 yards, Hemby 60 yards. Overall, they had 130 some yards rushing. There was a 12-yard run for a touchdown, one for, as they say, one for the ages, with Fernando Mendoza getting spun around almost. He was weaving through traffic, and great run, touchdown. So they had 130 some yards. Miami 110 yards. But Miami, they had a terrible start and probably not even a really good, almost a terrible first half. But they came out strong in the second half, and they were pretty good passing the ball and on defense. But let me finish with Indiana. They were, their number one receiver, Omar Cooper Jr., had a big game. He had 71 yards, 5 catches, 71 yards. And then Charlie Becker, who, a sophomore, who hardly played that much prior to Penn State, 1 or 2 catches. All of a sudden, he's on fire. He's making these back shoulder catches. Hand catches. Showed the strength of his hands, and it won late in the game. And then Elijah Surratt, one of their better receivers, did not have a great game, but Becker and Cooper made up for it. So, and obviously then there was the block punt. What's his name? Khalil. Number 6. The blocker for the Canes, number 87, he just kind of matadored him, and the punter is actually rotating over that way, and the punter goes right into where Khalil came from that didn't get blocked, right? So it was crazy. I'm totally disorganized today. Mikhail Kamara, not Khalil, Mikhail Kamara. So, I probably should start this video all over, but I'm not gonna, because I won't even remember what the hell I just said. So, Charlie Becker, big day. D'Angelo Pons, a Miami guy, played at Shamana and Madonna down in Miami. Didn't get a whiff, didn't get an offer, didn't get a walk on it at Miami, and neither did Mendoza. Mendoza probably would have gone there with a walk on. Instead, it was between Yale and Cal. He ended up going to Cal and then transferred to Indiana this year. Aiden Fisher and Rolando Hardy. It's Hardy. Elijah Hardy, linebackers. Great game for both of them. But their leading tackler was Lewis Moore and Jamari Sharp. Jamari Sharp actually is the guy, number 22, who picked off the pass at the end of the game, picked off Carson Beck with 19 seconds ago. Here's a little factoid. I didn't know it till I found out today from my brother Foxy Bob that Jamari Sharp's uncle, 23 years ago, played in the national championship game for Miami against Ohio State, and he was the one that was charged with the pass interference on the last play of regulation. So it's crazy. Sharp grew up, went to Miami Northwestern, which is right there in Miami Gardens. Probably played for Teddy Bridgewater. If you know Teddy Bridgewater, went to Louisville. Then he went to the Vikings and maybe a couple other places. And this year he ended up getting signed by the Buccaneers when Baker Mayfield got hurt. So what else? Radicek, the kicker. He was perfect. couple field goals, um, got his extra points. Although one of his extra points, I think it was the extra point, doinked and went in on the doinked off the upright, but went between the uprights. Unlike Carter Davis for Miami, who doinked one and it went out, did not go between the uprights, and a missed field goal. And I told you guys on Saturday when I was talking to Foxy Bob and to Acoustic Larry that Carter Davis has not had a good year. Yes, I know he missed a couple at A&M and it was windy, but he had not had a good year. From 40 to 49, he was 6 of 10, and from 50 plus, he was 1 out of 2. Now, the one he kicked last night was 51. He doinked it. I guess I'm a savant, right? Either that or I just did my homework. We'll probably go with I just did my homework. So, so that's, what else can you say about Indiana? They held tough. They made some mistakes. They almost, see, Indiana is not known for making mistakes. They're known, actually, let me put it the other way. They're known for not making mistakes, right? But last night, mistakes almost cost them the game. They had a couple different penalties. One was a holding penalty. The other, more specifically, they had 3rd and 1 at about the 5-yard line, 4 or 5-yard line, and the guy, number 62, who's an All-American, Smith, I believe is number 62 or 65. Actually, it's 65. He flinched, illegal motion. Now, instead of 3rd and 1 at the 4, it's 3rd and 6 at the 9. Changes the calculus. They run the ball once. They run the ball twice, because I think that was actually was 2nd down, 2nd and 1. So they run the ball a couple times. They gain nothing. They kick the field goal. They go up 6. Miami's coming back. Carson Beck's coming back. Then Indiana let him off the hook. I forgot who. I think it was Landino. But sorry, Landino, if I've given you credit incorrectly. But roughing the passer call. And I think it scrambled Beck's brain a little bit, because they said after the game that he was a little wobbly, a little woozy. And then he threw the pick to Sharp right after that. So, in each of Miami's losses, Beck threw a pick late. Good quarterback. I'm not going to tell you he's a great quarterback. He was around a long time. I don't know how many times Kirk Herbstreit said this was his 43rd start. Damn. I knew by the end of the game that it was his 43rd start. In fact, I knew by the first time he said it. I didn't hear. And we'll talk about it another time. But are you tired of all these little catchphrases like in phase, or the running back's running downhill, or he's running behind his pads? Well, he can't be in front of his pads. What, are they going to put the pads on his ass? So he's running downhill. Then the linebackers are coming downhill. Is anybody going uphill? Are they both going downhill? Talk about it another time. Let's get to Miami. I talked about Carson Beck. He was in his 7th year of eligibility, 5th year of actually playing. He had a bad injury last year, had surgery, missed spring ball. He did a great job. I don't know if they said today he was worth the money that they paid him, because he got him to the national championship game. They paid him, who knows, rumors, $4 million, $4.5 million. And then Mark Fletcher. Mark Fletcher had a great game. He had, what did he have, 110, 113 yards last night? 122 yards. No, that's Malachi Tony. 112 yards for Mark Fletcher. And so he set or broke the all-time record by Ezekiel Elliott for most yards in the playoffs. Now, that said, there are more games. He played more games than Elliott did in the playoffs, because at that time, When Elliott was there, they only had a 4-team playoff. Now they had a 12-team playoff, and Miami played 4 games. So it is what it is. But Mark Fletcher, great guy. I didn't realize, my wife said that he's probably between $2 and $3 million he's making, which makes sense why he's coming back for his senior year. But what else? Oh, by the way, videos. There's a video circulating around Mark Fletcher getting into a little battle with number 95 of Indiana after the game. Fletcher, from about 5 feet away, threw a punch. And that's all that's going around. And, oh, Fletcher's a bad guy. Oh, he's, bad character. But go search Mark Fletcher and Fernando Mendoza, and you'll see a video where Mark Fletcher waited for Fernando Mendoza to get done with an interview so he could give him a hug and have about a 3-4 minute conversation with him. Okay? Check that out. Malachi Toney had a great game for the Canes. He'd been struggling a little bit in the playoffs, but that was his breakout game. Matter of fact, he'd had 5 catches for 22, 5 for 16 yards, those are, against Ohio State. Then he had 5 for 81 against Ole Miss, and then 10 for 122 last night. So pretty good stuff. The defensive line in Miami was unbelievable. I think they got worn down just a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit, because they held there down around the goal line. Mohamed Toure, the transfer from Rutgers, game of his life maybe. I think he had 11 tackles. So it was a very entertaining game, and I guess the prognosticators had it just right. They had the spread at 7.5, and the game was 6. So they had it 7.5. It was at 6. Miami covered. And then the over-under was 47.5. I actually think at game time it went down to 46.5, and 21 and 27 is 48. So if it was 47.5, crazy. I know some people go, these games are fixed, and blah, blah, blah. Get over it. I don't want to hear it shit. I don't know. That's what I got. Random thoughts. Sorry I was rambling. Sorry I was a little out of sorts here, but that's where I am. America, land of the free because of the brave. Stay focused, America. Billy Bob, peace.